Today we are going to start a networking module. First we did something about a kind of IAM on a security level, user group management, how to define policies, how to go with multi-factor authentication, what is console user, what is CLI user, programmatic access, when to give. We have done this. Now we want to go forward networking. So now here you say networking part. In the networking, Amazon like AWS is offering the networking services as a virtual. So they're calling us what? AWS VPC. The name of the service which is offered by Amazon to do networking management is going to what? VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Virtual Private Cloud. Now, what is networking? The first, before going to Amazon, we have to understand link of two or more devices to establish communication and sharing. If I want to do communication sharing, you require networking. Suppose you have two machines. Example, you have a two computer and you want to establish the communication between these two computers. So you have a choice. Either you can go wired or you can go wireless, right? In a networking domain, but I'm not coming to the cloud specific. I'm just giving how we do traditionally before cloud. So we go physically a cable here and cable to here. So this is basically called network switch. So we have to take a network switch and we have to make a cable, basically used to have UTP cable. Okay. Now the copper cable is connected to this device and this device linked to these computers. So computer A need an IP address, so we have to define the IP address in a private IP, because if you want to create internet, you go for what? Private IP address. As we know that what is private IP address? The IP address is divided into two types, private and public. And same series, whatever you have taken for a first computer, you have to take same series and you have to change last octet. That is 02. That means every machine should have a unique address. You cannot have duplicate address or else communication cannot be happen. As we have done already networking basics, terminology also. Now what I want to do is, I want to say a private IP address. It's very important to remember this. What are the private IP address? 0 series, 172.16 series, and 192.168. These series are called as what? Private IP address. And whenever you want to create your own private network, you have to create what? You have to use private IP address designing for internal communication. So if you want to have your office or company, you want to set up, you need switch box, you need cable, you need this. So I'm just saying before cloud how we do in a physical computers, and IP address is very important. It's not only physical tie-up. Without this software configuration, you cannot do that. That means network is comprised of what? Two, physical and logical. Your IP address is a logical and your cables and switch and everything is called what? Physical connectivity. You need physical and logical address. So now, without IP address you cannot communicate. So once you have done this communication, already we have done something on communication. As I said, if I want to supply internet connection, if I want to supply, example, the company got 2 or 200 machines or 2000 machines here. In the same manner, we connect all together. And the bandwidth of the internal communication, the internet speed, that means internal communication speed is going to what? 1 Gbps. Or it can go up to what? Nowadays, latest network interfaces comes with what? 10 Gbps. Network interface internally. Earlier it's going to be 100 Mbps or something, but now 1 Gbps at least we are getting. So now internal communication, I can say 1 Gbps here, the internet speed, internal speed. But whenever you take internet connection, how do you connect it? You have to connect directly to the network. This is called network. Switch is network. So when you connect to this network, then automatically it's applied to every systems. But now the switch, it's only replicate the data, it replicate the connection, but I have taken only one internet connection. So every machine should have what? Public IP if you connect to switch. So what you do is, you don't connect to switch, you connect to what? A kind of firewall device. In a real time, you need to have a what? A firewall device. A firewall device here. So what exactly here? The firewall, as I said, is very important in every organization. If you want to connect internet connection, it's vulnerable. So it's good to go forward. Firewall. Your connection goes to firewall, and firewall having a feature called what? So that makes sense that you do not have multiple IP address. You don't want to invest a lot of IP address, and you want to share single internet connection to your internal network, whether 200 machines or 2000 machines. So what do? You connect and you enable the NAT on the firewall. Once you enable, the firewall which connect to what? Switch. So now it is protected also. It's a protection as well as sharing. Protection and sharing. So once you do the sharing and protection, so you'll find what? You'll get two benefits. One is protection, firewall protection, as well as NAT is going to give what? Single internet sharing to what? Multiple machines. So we are understanding what we require in a physical firewall, NAT, and all internet connection. How do you connect? It's very important. And now, next one is what? I want to connect one more other network. I have another network in different country or same country, but different place. I want to connect. So these are the basically, again it's a 200 machines or 2000 machine. I'm just giving two computers here. So it's tie up with the same different, a kind of like LAN. This is also what? A private network boundary. Private network boundary. So here also same situation. So is there required what? They require firewall. And whenever required internet connection, it need to be go like this. And you need to enable what? NAT also here. If you want to provide internet connection to your internal devices, the firewall is going to what? Protect your internal, external kind of resources. So now you got the same connection, but how do you connect to these machines? If you go to internet, it's going to be what? Vulnerable, security issues. So what you do is, in a company, you'll go for what? A router device example. You go for what? Router device. You have two choice. If you go for a VPN, the bandwidth will be slow. If your data transfer is high rate and your application accessing from one network to the network is high transfer, so you require what? Dedicated connection you require. So you need to go for what? Lease line. When you're on and off, sometime connecting, sometime disconnecting, it's not dedicated. You go for VPN. VPN does not have more bandwidth like your lease line. MPLS line or lease line we'll see. So here we'll take separate what? Lease line from the ISP. Here also we have to take what? Lease line from what? ISP. And you connect to what? Here again firewall, because everything should pass through a firewall. Firewall is very important. Whenever external traffic coming, it need to be bypassed from a firewall. Then it's going to be protected. Now, you understand that why I have taken this MPLS line here, and I have taken MPLS line here. So we take lease line here, right? Lease line. And this is your internet connection, a common internet. This is our internet. So in the physical connectivity, in this manner we need to go. If you want to have branch to branch communication, I am using lease line, because I don't want to pass the connection through internet. I don't want to pass my data through internet line. We can pass it, but internet is not secure. If I want to confidentially connect to my systems or my network, which is in different region or something here, example I have in Sydney, and I'm into right now India. So if I want to have branch to branch communication in Sydney, I'll take lease line. In India also I take lease line. I need a router device. This basically is called what? Router device here. You see that? The lease line comes to what? Router. VPN comes to your basically on a firewall. VPN basically comes with a firewall, but you can configure VPN on router also. But it's good to go forward, depend on your future, how do you want to do. If you want to define NAT also on the network level, you can do NAT. So now what we understand that router is basically to communicate one network to other network. Without router, you cannot bypass the data, or you can transfer the data from one network to other network. But firewall is for what? Protection from external or unauthorized users to your internal internet resources. NAT is basically for what? Single internet sharing to multiple devices without multiple public IP, only one public IP. It can reduce the cost and even protection also. Every internal machine will have private IP address. So here it can be have different series here. To connect network, it's very important. Other network should have what? Different series. So here 10 series is a 192 series. If you want to connect one network to other network, if you want to join, it's very important the network series should be different. So same configuration applied to Amazon Cloud. So I have given this component, I have designed this internet supply and everything I have done. Now, if I want to do convert into AWS Cloud, how do you do that? It's a physical network. Now it's going to be a physical network. Okay, now if I want to convert this everything on the cloud, so it's very easy. Physical network takes a lot of time, lot of knowledge also. You need to learn properly routers, you need to learn properly firewalls, you need different team. Firewall security will be different team, router security, networking engineers are different. You need to understand internal support team, network support who manage the LAN, cable, switches, routers, cabling, physical cables. To set up, at least you will take 1 week or 2 weeks to set up your own kind of internal 200 or 2000 machines. So now in a cloud we can save a lot of time. Earlier I can say in a physical network, let's say I want to set up 200 machines for my LAN, one network. So if you want 200 PCs to be set up, so you need physical cable, switches, cable structured, a lot of things, connectivity, you have to understand where to connect, what to connect, which port, you have to do a lot of things, you need a lot of knowledge. So it takes time, basically time duration for setup or to establish the connection of network. It takes at least 3 to 7 days. How do you connect it? Cabling. Then cost is very high. That means you have to purchase the cables, you have to purchase the network switch, you have to purchase a rack, you have to place it properly, and you have to make electrical work there, cabling structuring, and then you have to do some kind of connectivity connectors. A lot of things are there. So it need cable costs, it needs switch costs, and you have to maintain it. So the cable and switch cost you have to bear. Physical, you have to pay lump sum payment, and you need firewall cost, you need router cost, you have to purchase lot of things. You need what? If you want to have connection, lease line is very costly connection. You have to pay for that. Now, when you see in your cloud, AWS platform, same thing. If you want to set up 200 or more, how much time is required? 5 to 10 minutes. That means 1 day, 2 day job can be in 5 to 10 minutes, or hardly 15 minutes, depending on your speed. But if you take normal speed also, 30 minutes and 1 day is very high. So that means it's very faster. You don't need to bother about a lot of physical involvement, no cable, no switch, no routers, nothing. No physical, no connectivity, only just give a here request, I need router, I need connection, I need switch, I need network. Whenever I say switch, network means switch. So that means I'm just giving order, automatically it will create background virtually. So that like here the beauty of the cloud, it's become very easy. You do not need to have a lot of networking deep dive. Only IP address you require. You need to have an idea about how the network connects. Physically, it's very important to imagine. So now, even no lease line costs. If you want to have lease line for network within what? AWS cloud infrastructure. If my regions are, like example, my network is available in Sydney in India, so they are on cloud, Amazon cloud. So they are in the same infrastructure, global infrastructure Amazon. So no lease line is required. That means you're saving a lot of money here. So now the cost is going to be very low. There is no switch cost, there is no cable cost. You're not going to maintain the power supply. You do not need to go for racks and everything. Everything in a very simple manner. Just click, 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 everything is done. So this way, you say what? Differences between physical and virtual. But how do I create? So Amazon offers 200 plus services. Among that, Amazon says what? Which service to create an internal network, intranet. Suppose you got a project. Your company got a project and it's basically Sydney, okay, Australia. So now it's a kind of company of what? E-commerce. That means they want to set up an retail business, right? It's a retail business. They want to set up application, they want to run the application online. So you are onboarded for that. You are onboarded for that. They have application. You have to set up the application. You have to run the application without any kind of downtime. That means definitely customer demand on what? It should be high available, low cost. Customer definitely say about what? Low cost, and they'll say what? About a kind of what? High availability, and they need what? Security, they need performance. These 4 pillars, the 5 pillars, as I said, the pillar of Amazon, whenever you design an architecture diagram, so it should be on this criteria. your application, your architecture should be high available, durable, performance, security, and low cost. This Amazon guided, this Amazon giving and training that you have to analyze your structure or infrastructure about this pillar. You have to design in this manner. So now, every businessman will say that the application should not be done more downtime. 1 hour, 2 hour is off because of network problem, because of power supply problem. That's why they are going for cloud, because Amazon says 99.99 and 5 nines. Low cost. Whatever you're designing for servers, network, storage, altogether, the billing should be low. I should not get a high bill. So who is going to decide? A cloud engineer is going to decide which component I have to take, what is the low cost, I have to design it. And security, you have to understand about security also, whether I need to give internet connection directly or indirectly. How can I protect internal resources? How can I keep firewalls? Where to keep the firewalls? I need to define. Performance, data transfer. What is the bandwidth, speed of the internet, like your internet or your network or your servers, how they communicate. Your application is going to be well served to the customer with without any performance issue. 24/7, 365 days you are serving, there is no problem. High availability is done, but performance is required. If the website is delivering very slow to the customer, definitely it's a kind of reputation loss. So reputation also, it's your responsibility. Your responsibility is this, and durability is what? Your data backup should be cared by you. So it's your duty that how do you protect your data, durability of the data. So customer says about this, and you have to do. And they said what? They have an application which is based on what? 3 tier. Web plus app plus database. They have a 3 tier architecture. Mostly application runs on 3 tier. But earlier we need to have what? One system, one application, everything we do there. So one application for the performance, and especially performance, and to manage individual components of the application runners, the power. To run the application, I need a web server, application server, database server. Because database is of different functionality, application is a different functionality, and UI is a different functionality. To run UI kind of programs, your application divided into 3 points or 3 parts. That is called web, app, and database. Web is basically front end. You just deliver from a server. Example, I need a server which can deliver only what? Only web, HTML something. That means whatever you're seeing, that pages, buttons, colors, photos, videos, layout, this is what? Web. Who is serving that? Web server. Okay. To serve web server, to make web server, you need what? Nginx software, which makes your Linux server as a what? Web server. And you're keeping what? HTML, CSS or JavaScript or something. You're going to keep this code. Static code, you can say what? Static code. And the logic, business logic will be onto where? App server. So to make app server, if it is Java, so you need what? Tomcat, a Java here running. You have to install this. You do not require Nginx or something. You require the application code should be compiled with the Java. It should be served. That's why we need a Tomcat. So now, and then you have a what? A dynamic code. Understand this point. Now, you required what? One more? Database server. Database tier. App tier, web tier, or database tier. So now, what do you require? You required MySQL or Oracle or something. So you have to install this software here. to make database server. But again, they need to have what? Connectivity also. They need to have connectivity because they are running same application as a part. This is also a part of your application. This is also keeping a part of your application. This is also keeping a part of your application. Your application is running into different three parts to have a dedication functionality. Database functionality is different. It's a part of your application, your e-commerce application. Amazon says that, the customer says that we have a retail application, retail business. So they did application, retail business app. So this app to be run into what? Different servers, dedicated servers. The performance will improve. So this way we go every time. So you need to understand before doing networking. Once you have done this, so then what you have to do? The customer says we have a 3-tier. On the base of that, the first foremost, you're not going to launch servers. You're going to do networking. In your project, you have to design a first network properly. Then you place your servers. So now, I'm going to use what service? VPC service. Whenever I create a network into your cloud, it will create a virtual boundary. So understand, this is your account, this is your region, and this is going to be what? Your network. The black border, the outside, is called what? Your AWS account. That means to create a network, you need an account. The blue line, the boundary, the second rectangle box is called what? Region. You have to select appropriate region before going to the service. And this is your what? The next one is your VPC. That is your virtual network. Virtual network. So now your VPC works. Whenever you create a VPC, a boundary will be created, logical boundary, a security boundary. Because you're going to run a lot of servers here. All the servers should be secure. So you need a security network, give you security. Under that, what I need is, according to the customer said that they are running on what? 3-tier application. So this big network should be divided into what? Small pieces, spaces. Whenever the network created, you have to create a space into the network. That is called subnet. We call what? Subnet. So once you create a subnet in the big boundary, that logical rectangle box, a logical boundary, that's create, again we have to create, if you want to run any servers, you require at least one subnet. But now we have a 3-tier. For each tier, you have to create what? Separate subnets. So how many subnet we require? According to requirement, 3. So I'll go for this, 1 for web, 1 room for what? Application, and 1 room for what? I'll go for what? Database. So I have got these 3 subnets for my tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I want to keep all the servers which I'm going to run web server. I want to keep here. I want to keep here. I want to keep here. So I have given space. Now I can launch the servers here. But it is not recommended to go with this way. So what we have to do is, in a network design, when you are allocated, when you are responsible for this, it's very important to what? The customer says what? Example, whenever you launch, you create a subnet, it will ask which zone. If you say availability zone, A and B, A. As I said already, region, availability zone, already I said. Availability zone is a word. In the physical location of Amazon where the data center is running, it's called region. Under that they have created what? Building 1, building 2, building 3. Each region have what? 3 zones. So these zones contain what? Infrastructure. Your servers, network, storage, infrastructure is available. So now when I am creating a network, so it will give you an option. Do you want to keep the network into zone A, zone B, zone C? So if I say zone A, all the network, web tier, app tier, database tier, I want to run into what? Zone A. So now tomorrow Amazon, if says that email you got and notification that I'm sorry, we are not operating on specific region and the zone A is not working. You have to give a time for 4 hours, 6 hours. Oh, it's a bad day for the business. Your application is not running because your application you have designed and the network on zone A, and now you got to report that zone A. But you promised to the customer what? I'll make your application as what? High available. What is this? You don't know about the network. You have not planned for the present and future. So you have to understand this. Maybe it can happen tomorrow. Amazon can send a mail to you or I'm sorry, our zone is not working. Then it's a bad day. It's a kind of, you have to attend the meetings. You have to respond to people's. The customer, you promise and you say that what is this? So business is done. Your application running here on web and app database. So the zone is done. Because we are dependent on Amazon. We are running our servers, everything on Amazon data center. So we have given an instruction that I want a region. Example, I want to go for North Virginia. And I said what? Zone A, zone B, zone A, zone A, zone A, right? Only one zone. Now, it's highly recommended to go for what? Multiple zones for what? One tier. One tier should have what? Multiple zone. So that means you have to create one more subnet for the same tier. So web server, I want to keep in one subnet, zone A. A subnet is based on what? Zone. You have to select zone. So that's why you have to select. Now I'm going to create one more subnet and go for what? Zone B, AZB.
Of same IP address.
AZB. I'm not talking about IP address. I'm talking about what?
Network IP.
I'm talking about, first understand the spaces. Why should I require a separate space, separate room for that? Technical word is we say subnet. So understand high availability you have created. High availability. The IP address, whenever you say that, IP address you do not need to bother in VPC, in cloud. Everything will be automatically assigned by the cloud itself. You have to just give a range. I need this range. Automatically it will assign IP address. But earlier we have to bother what range, how to define, how to decide, lot of things, complexity. But now in cloud there is no need to bother. So now, so you required multiple subnet for one tier or not? And the subnet should be what? Different zone. Is required or not?
Yes.
Why?
Because of
High availability. The word high availability is a part of your job, cloud engineer. If you do not say anything about high availability in your demonstration to the customer, you're not a cloud engineer. Understand this. So again you have to go forward. Availability zone B. I'm going to create one more subnet for what? Zone B. The database, I'll go for what? Availability zone B. One is created in A, one subnet is created in A, one subnet created in B. That means building 1, building 2. And every building having own power supply, own internet. So if something power supply internet goes from the building A, there will not be effect on building B. That means you have designed in a splitted manner. The network is not running, your subnets are not running on a single infrastructure or single building or single zone. So it is running on two different zones. So your servers will be running on what? You're launching, whenever you launch the servers, you launch server here 1, server 2. When you launch the servers after the subnet, when you launch the subnet servers, you instruct the servers to launch in zone A, zone B. That means if you have 100 machines, 100 servers, 50 servers will run on zone A, 50 server runs on what? Zone B. So in this way, your application become what? high available. If tomorrow Amazon says zone A is not working, you don't worry. Your still application is distributed from what? Zone B. So this way you can make your application. You have to understand why I'm designing subnet multiple in multiple zones. It's a question. It's a kind of, that definitely interviewer will ask you like here, how do you design the network? On what factors? You have to say, I need to concern about security, I need to concern about performance, I need to concern about high availability. So I have talked about high availability right now, right? And whenever you're dividing your network into pieces, subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3, you're dividing big network into small network, which makes what? Performance also. If the web traffic is coming only for web server, it will go to that only web subnet. The speed will be high. Speed will be high.
Sir, the subnet created in zone A and subnet created in zone B, both are having same subnet address.
So it's a subnet address.
Yeah, because
Address, don't bother about address. I'm saying that the address will be, when I say subnet, net means network 1, network 2. Every network will have what? Different address. Different address. And that address will be managed automatically by what? Amazon. You just specify the range, automatically it will assign. Is it clear? Whenever you're giving the network, whenever you're creating network, it will ask the CIDR block, the range, what network you require. So if I say 10 series, and if I say 16, so it will automatically allocate 10 series to your network. But whenever you create a subnet, you have to allocate again subnet for subnet what? Example, subnet for web A, zone A. If I say what, it will ask what range you want. So the third number should change here. Your big network is what? Having 10 series. Your all subnet works with the same series as a parent series. And they'll say what? 0.1. Then they'll say what? /24. 24 is a small network. Whenever you say 16 is a big network. Your VPC should have what? 16. And your subnet should have what? /24. /24 is a small network which can have an IP block, IP range of what? How many range? How many IP addresses you can get? 255 IP. But when I say 16, it will get what? 65,000 something. That means 65,000 IP it cannot occupy, it can supply. So depending on machine, how many machines you can run. One machine need what? 1 IP address. That means a big network which can create a network of what? 65,000 machines. But your subnet, I'm saying /24, small network. So I want to give what? 255. In one subnet, I can launch 255 computers. Each computer automatically give what? 1 IP address. You don't need to bother, only just say 24. When you go for subnet B, and you have to give what? Same series. The last third digit should be what? Change. And you have to say 24. That's it. You're supplying to Amazon that what network address I require. So network subnet 1 for subnet web A, I'm giving 1 series, 10 series. 10 should be maintained because your VPC having this series. The same series 2, you have to give /24. Then for app server, app A, so you have to give what? 10, same series, 0. Then you have to give what? 3, because network change. Then you have to say what? 24. So if you have what? App B, you're going to have what? 10, 0, 4 dot /24. You understand now?
yes.
That means you're defining the numbers, IP address to this. I'm saying the VPC 10 series 16. But under this VPC, I'm creating the same subnet You have to follow the same series, 10 series here. It will ask, when you create a subnet, it will ask, what do you want? If I say, I need a subnet with a series of this, it will ask which IP address? 10 series. But the third octet should change here. Here 1, here 2, here 3. It goes on. How many subnet you want to create? Just change the value of the third octet and then go on. And the size should be what? 24 is a common practice. But you'll have a lot of different sizes are there, 25, 26, 27. You can go on. But we don't want to jump into network subnet right now in details. The common practice is what? Is enough to go for 16 for the VPC and 24 is enough for what? Subnet. So you have to understand this way. So you have created this subnet and VPC because of what? High availability. In the concerns of what? High availability. But the challenge here, you have done, but you have launched the servers also. Example, you have launched the servers. After creating network, you have to launch what? Servers. You have to run the server, database servers here, application servers there. Every servers you have to launch. Once you have launched the servers, so now the challenge is what? To maintain these servers. This all are Linux based example. So my team having a Linux administrator, our company appointed the infrastructure team to maintain these servers. Updating, upgrading, patching, or any troubleshooting. They need to do any kind of changes. They need what? A kind of person. So example, a Linux admin is there. So the challenge is what? Whenever you create this network and whenever you launch the servers, it will get only private IP address. So my team is connecting from outside. How can they connect? The rules of communication is what? Public connection can be done with public. But there is no public IP here. So what do you require? A kind of internal connection. How do you connect if you do not have a supply also? So now first of all, Amazon says for that you just create one more subnet. Don't give a supply to directly your web server database. Web server, database server, application servers are very sensitive. Your application code is running. If you expose to internet, there's going to be security risk. So that means you're working on security perspective. You're explaining customer that how I design my network. I created a multiple subnet because of a perspective of what? High availability and performance. And I'm keeping a kind of security perspective. I have not exposed these servers to internet because of what? Security. But how my application get updated? Because internet is required. To update the software, you require what? Internet. And how my internal networks or my company internal team who want to maintain these servers which is running on cloud, Amazon cloud, definitely they don't have entered to what? Amazon data center. We cannot sit in a data center. We are sitting in our company and we want to connect to the data center servers where it's running. So cloud basically I said what? Internet. It depends on internet. If you want to access any service, you have to go for internet. So but these resources, whenever we have created, I have not discussed about internet, only private network we have created. But I need to give a supply. So Amazon says that you can supply Amazon says that you can supply with the help of one more component called VPC component, networking components called Internet Gateway. Internet Gateway. So there is a component we have to just request to the Amazon, I need Internet Gateway. So Internet Gateway has given, allocated for your account. Again you have to do what? You have to make a connection. That means you have to attach to what? Network. So if you want to supply internet to where? Internet gateway. Now in a company you have a two choice. Indirect internet connection and direct connection. First of all, we need direct connection. We know that. That means you have to say that ISP give cable. internet connection to my company. So one cable which is coming to your firewall or your router is called what? Direct connection. So to supply indirect is secondary. You need what? Direct connection is required now. So for direct connection, if I want to say that ISP is my AWS, AWS is a provider for me.
Yes.
Because in AWS, Amazon is provider, Amazon is giving network, local network, everything. So I need a kind of in between to supply the connection. I need a router. I need a router. What? So here it's called routing table. Routing. Here Amazon is calling what? Routing table. The internet gateway should connect to router. Then router will route the traffic to where? Where do you want? I want to supply internet directly to what? A separate subnet which does not have my sensitive resources. Sensitive? So these sensitive resources, why I have created, Amazon recommended that don't expose these machines. Expose this machine, dummy machine. So your external user, dummy machine, this dummy machine, connect to it, so automatically it will get what? Public IP. Whenever you connect to internet gateway, it will get public IP. And you have private also because it's a part of VPC. So this subnet can communicate to every subnet can communicate to each other. So now I have exposed this machine. So there is no security issue because if a hackers also comes here, so there is no data important here. There is no problem. So I expose it. With why? I want this, my Linux team should connect from outside, so they'll at least have a base here. When they landed to this machine, so they can internally with private IP they can communicate internally. They can do what? Again connection to from here by sitting on this machine. They can do what? Connection.
Sir, it is like jump server or
We say jump server. We say what?
jump server.
This server, it acts as a what? Jump server because it's allowing to jump inside. And it can, the next one is what? Bastion host.